Hello everyone, welcome to tutorial 13 of our introductory Python for image processing tutorial series. Now in this tutorial, let's actually talk about tuples. These are very similar to lists. We talked about lists in our previous tutorial, and tuples are very similar except these are called immutable, which basically means you cannot edit them, you cannot modify them. Okay, so let's actually get in, and this should be a quick tutorial because these are very similar to lists, like I mentioned earlier. Okay, so here is some of the code left over from our last lists discussion, and our A is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and look at this square bracket. Okay, so let's clear all variables. In fact, let's go ahead and start from scratch. Okay, now again, how did we define our list? We just said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or how many ever numbers, square brackets. Up here it says A is a list of size 5 and it has values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now if I define the same thing, A equals to, instead of square brackets, just use regular parentheses, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. Oh, sorry. Now this is a tuple. Okay, of size 5, and everything else is the same. The only thing I cannot do here is add something. So for example, if I do a.append and try to add a new value, for example 8 or something, it should come back and say tuple object has no attribute append. But if I have a list, then I should be able to do that, right? So if I just do b equals to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, and b dot append, and let's actually append a value of, I don't know, 8. Now your b actually is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 8. I couldn't do that for a tuple. By definition, they're immutable. That is the only difference between list. Everything else I did cover as part of my list tutorial should be applied here, is valid here. Again, let's clear the screen. What is our A? Our A is a tuple of values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I do 2 times A, it should result in another tuple. Okay, if I can basically say B equals to 2 multiplied by A. Now my B is also a tuple, but the size of it is double the size of this. Okay, so any math or any addition, any subsets, for example, if I say C equal to my B from element 3rd from 6th element, okay, now if I do my C is also a tuple. So if you subset from a tuple, it also becomes a tuple. Now you may ask the question, why in the world do we need tuples if we have lists? Because lists are more flexible, right? You can actually add numbers, you can delete numbers from the list, and so on. Well, that's exactly the reason why we have tuples. Tuples make, for example, great keys for dictionaries. I'll talk about dictionaries in my next tutorial, where you have a let's say one value, and for that you assign a key. So tuples make great keys because these cannot be changed. Another quick example I can think of, in fact, I have my tutorial 3 opened here, so let's actually zoom in. So in tutorial 3, I just showed you how simple it is to actually do Python coding. The reason I have this open is, let's go ahead and read this image called osteosarcoma 01. Actually, let's do all of that because I have another image called osteosarcoma 01.tiff, and I don't care about this remaining lines. Let's just run up to this point. So all I'm doing is assigning a variable, defining a variable called image, assigning the values from my osteosarcoma image that I had. So now actually look at this image up here. So this is a unsigned integer 8 type, and the size of this image is 1104, 1376, and 3. And look at the values in here, 7, 69, 61, and so on, right? So this is my image, and these are square brackets. That means I can modify my image pixels. I can remove, I can add, I can do certain stuff. But the size of this image is a tuple of dimensions 1104, 1376, and 3. 3 stands for red, green, and blue channels. I cannot just modify the size right here. I mean, the size gets modified if I change my image and do something, shrink it or do some sort of operations. But this specific image has a specific dimension, and that dimensions are in the form of a tuple, so I cannot change it. So this is a quick example of why we need tuples in addition to lists. So in the next video, I'm going to talk about dictionaries, which is a similar topic to lists and tuples, except as the name suggests, it's a dictionary. It has a key. I mean, it has let's say a word and its meaning. Okay, and we can use the meaning to call the word, or we can use the word to call the meaning. Okay, so I hope you learned something from this tutorial, and in the next one, let's actually talk about dictionaries. Thank you very much.